Hey everybody, how you doing? We're going to be just starting off here in a few minutes. Hope you enjoyed your weekend. From Safety Wars. Before we start the program, I want to make sure everyone understands that we often talk about OSHA and EPA citations, along with some other regulatory actions from other agencies, legal cases, and criminal activity. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. Proposed fines are exactly that, and they are often litigated, reduced, or vacated. We use available public records, news accounts, and press releases. We cannot warranty or guarantee the details of any of the stories we share, since we are not directly involved with these stories, at least not most of the time. Enjoy the show.
This show is brought to you by Safety FM.
And from the border of liberty and prosperity, no highway to the north, this is Safety Wars for Monday, March 11th, 2021. 24. Where did that come from? 21. How's everybody doing out there today? I hope well. Checking out the streamers here. Yeah, things seem to be coming on right about now. Yeah, we had some software updates here on the website that we use for recording all these programs and everything. And we're just, there had to be some adjustments. So on Friday, we started a new way of handling things here. We have a license for the regular news. And essentially we are, what's the word I'm looking for? We're like a regular news broadcast like Jay Allen. So usually first 15 minutes or so, we're going to be going to network news. And then along with our regular stuff that we always do here. So, no, it is what it is. Hopefully nothing else will be happening with the family later on. No major tragedies. What we've been through over the last month and a half has been hell, I tell you what. So if you're listening to this, chances are you made it through the most dangerous driving day of the year, which is the Monday after daylight saving time. I tell you what, it was rough this morning, getting up and everything else after they're messing around with things. And every November and every March, we get a lot of people out there talking about, well, they should change the law and everything else. And there was some pretty good coverage on this today on some of the things that I follow, right? With some of the programs I follow. One of them being is that in Canada, they have outlawed any of these time changes as long as the adjacent province or U.S. state outlaws the time change. And right now, my understanding is that some of the states do, some of them don't, and there's some legalities, but essentially there has to be an act of Congress to get all this stuff formalized here. And so what I would do, now if you have time, again, it's an election year here, we could probably start a movement, because this is when people are going to be listening, whether we like it or not. They're going to listen during an election year on getting some of these issues out there. If it's an off-year election, off-year, not really. It's very difficult unless you're in New Jersey or Kentucky, who have statewide off-year elections often. Now, what ends up happening here, now we went through this in September, the end of September. We did a program on how to get on the ballot. And right now, pretty much every major candidate has dropped off. On the Republican side, they either have suspended their campaign, or they're not actively campaigning, or they've completely dropped out, as far as I know. You may have a couple of people out there that are able to get on the ballot in one state that are still running in the primaries. The same thing on the Democratic side. And there's been a lot of murmuring with Robert Kennedy out there also, with the whole thing with him becoming a member of the Libertarian Party. I'm going to say this much. It's all about ballot access. Now, can he get on the ballot for these states for the general election? No, time's ticking. You got to get on the ballot. And the thing is, being a member of a major party like the Libertarian Party, you're going to say, well, Jim, that's not a major party. Well, yeah, it is a major party here. Being on the Libertarian Party line probably is easier to get ballot access, because I'll give you a little history here. After 1992 with Ross Perot and what happened there with the Reform Party, a lot of the it's one of those bipartisan things. Democrats and Republicans got together. They started passing laws that made it harder for the third party to get into, or independents to get into this. And I mean, it's like ridiculous what they have to go through some of these places. I mean, you can look it up. I want to say also right off the bat, the last program that we broadcast on last Thursday or Wednesday, forget which one it is at this point. With this whole Rust thing, why am I I've been called obsessed about the whole Rust thing. Why am I somewhat obsessed with that? Because the armor is essentially Helena Hutchins was his victim. The armor, Guterrez-Reed, right? Hanna Guterrez-Reed. She is essentially a safety professional. If you don't want to call her a safety professional, you could call her the equivalent of construction of a competent person in charge. And a safety officer from the from Rust already pleaded guilty on this. He was, I believe, the first producer, which is usually, or the first director, which is usually allocated as a safety professional, is my understanding. And and then you had the Alec Baldwin, who was holding the weapon, and then you had Guterrez-Reed, who handed it to him, and allegedly, and I'm sure this is on appeal, brought live ammunition, and that was the basis of my understanding of what the whole thing was with her, of the whole conviction. That, and there were some other mitigating circumstances. For example, she was accused, but found not guilty, of cocaine. There's something with drug addiction issues she's been accused of, things of that nature. I don't know. There are some reports out there that say, well, she is having a hard time. Yeah, here you go. Let me pull this up here. This is from Yahoo News. This is Blast is the name of the publication, and Yahoo is like an aggregate of a lot of different things sometimes. It's Russ Summer reportedly having a difficult time behind bars. Report by Kristen Myers. Last week, Russ Summer, Hanna Guterrez-Reed, was found guilty of involuntary manslaughter in connection with the death of cinematographer Helena Hutchins. Actor, right? She faces up to 18 months behind bars in the death of Helena Hutchins. It goes on. The article goes on to say she is having a rough time behind bars. She was, prosecutors presented a witness who testified that she handed her a bag of white powder on the day Helena Hutchins was killed. The witness, who identifies herself as a recovering addict, believed the substance to be cocaine and threw it in the garbage can at the hotel where the crew was set up. The substance was never tested or found. So this is all alleged. Again, a woman died here and another person was seriously hurt. Let's not forget that. We're not capitalizing on this. But this whole thing brings up a lot of issues and a lot of emotions, especially in the safety industry. So what's one issue here we could talk about? We could talk about what drug testing. With the legalization of drugs, or the effective legalization of drugs on the state level, right, where they're not enforcing laws, things of that nature, do you still do drug testing at your facility? If you're a DOT-regulated facility or employer, the answer is most likely yes. If you're not, well, now what do you do? How do you manage this with the drugs out there? I don't know. I don't know what to tell anybody here. With that, the other thing is this: communication. How are you communicating with your people? Are you holding those safety meetings? That's another thing that's a concern. How many jobs are we on where they don't hold safety meetings? They don't hold job hazard analysis meetings. There's no safety training. No one's on the same page. Now, New York Times, I would love to take credit for this, but I can't tell that for sure. Here it is. They talk about this was from the March 8th, and I believe this has been updated a little bit where he was indicted on some other things. I don't know. I heard something in the background today, right? And this is a grand jury, and this is by Julia Jacobs from New York Times. Grand jury indicted Mr. Baldwin in January on a charge of involuntary manslaughter, which carries up to 18 months in prison. He pleaded not guilty. His trial is set for July, and it's going on. He denies pulling the trigger, saying the gun went off, and a forensic analysis says it might have been otherwise. Again, everyone's innocent until proven guilty. This is from the lead prosecutor in the case. Alec Baldwin's conduct and his lack, and this is a quote, Alec Baldwin's conduct and his lack of gun safety inside that church on that day, something that he's going to have to answer for. But that'll be for other jury on another day. So, footage, again, this is on video. Once you start putting things on video and audio recording things, guess what? It's open for discovery, and all the things that support your case and all the things that don't support your case and may work against you are on that video. So I caution you, anybody in the safety field, to be cautious with video here, because now apparently this, at least according to this article, may be used against him. With this, anyway, no. So for example, if you're working for me, you get a body camera, and it is well known you have a body camera. The reason being is that we have people out there doing things that are denying doing things, and supervisors and management denying that things happen. Fall protection being the big one, and people. Let's face it, most of the jobs I go on to, nobody has a criminal background check. Nobody has, there's a lot of nepotism and everything else. And if you can listen to the Rules for Radicals episodes we've done on this show, you get a lot of that used against you. And a couple of my clients will not accept any type of safety audit findings unless there is a picture, audio, or video. No, they won't do it. So we're forced into this. I said, well, then we're going to wear body cameras. Are you okay with that? Well, I said, well, what do you want from me? Again, you have to figure out where your responsibilities are and all this stuff. Do you have the ability to hire, fire, discipline, or do anything else with these situations here in the workplace? If you do not, then I would suggest that you get that in writing, because when things go bad, like they did on this set, all right, when things go bad, they go bad, and you might have a problem. You need some type of defense here. And the other thing is this. What do we always say? What do we always say here? You do have Miranda rights when you're dealing with regulatory agencies and with law enforcement. So assert your Miranda rights, right? Meaning you have the right to remain silent, and you also have a right to an attorney, and you have a right to your own innocence on this. And a related story, Helena, this is from Variety.com, story by Gene Mattis. The Rust producers still owe money to Helena Hutchins' widower and son a year after the settlement. What's the deal with this, man? Wow. How much money was this? It was some, right? I'm going through here. And there's some other litigation involved with this also from other family members. And I'm not seeing how much the settlement was. I'm sure it's off, as there's a confidentiality or NDA, non-disclosure agreement with this here. So they're varying amounts of money out there. So, and now we're going to talk one more thing out here. I was contacted today from someone on LinkedIn. So I had commented on one of David Jansky's, a friend of the program, his one of his posts out there, and it's one of the guys from the movie Stand By Me, one of the memes, right? And it says on here, when the third-party safety consultant, and the guy has like a confused look on his face, when the third-party safety consultant offers the same advice you guys gave 3 months ago, and now your boss decides it's a great idea. Now, couple of things you could take away on this whole thing. No, has that happened to me? Yeah, where I've worked for someone, and not as a consultant, not as safety wards, not as that, and you say, hey, look, you need to do X, Y, and Z. This is a really good idea, blah, 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 blah. We had one client of mine go to another company to have a human and organizational performance audit done. And I said, look, I advertised this to you, and the information that they gave you was not would have been consistent here, right, with this, and you paid them like 4 times the amount of money you paid me, and you didn't even blink, right? And well, you know, that's us and that's you. Oh, well, okay, that's the way the games say. They do better marketing or whatever have you on that, but basically this. This whole thing, where they go, there a couple of things here now. Number one, how can I gather my thoughts here? I'm having problems describing this. On one level, it annoys you that someone else got work that you should have gotten and could have done a better job on. Okay, fair enough. Someone that gets the job. Number two is a lot of the information that they derived on that audit was already known. I don't even think that you needed to do an audit with this. All right. And what happened was it uncovered another thing where the manager of the company was not, and the owner was not getting information that he was supposed to be getting. I mean, they came back with all this information where people are afraid to report things because they'll be fired. They get zero support from their management, the general contractor, this, and it went on and on and on, all the things that we normally study here. And again, because the owner/manager used to overreact to things, guess what happened? Things got covered up. It's just one of those things, guys, here with that. And the other thing is this. If you're familiarity breeds hatred. Right? Even Jesus said this in the Bible, where a prophet is hated in his own land. So again, you go into this stuff, all right? They know you. Hey, they don't want to hear it from you. They don't believe you. Now, what do you do about this? Very little you could do unless you want to be antagonistic. And as we know, pain for pain doesn't really work. But what I would normally do is I would probably document my findings with this, the minute that I would find out that someone's coming out, hey, look, no, you could be the amazing Kreskin, right? Like they had on the old Johnny Carson show. Now, if you're young and you want to find out who Johnny Carson is, you can Google that. But basically, you dressed up in a turban and everything else, like a gypsy. No, on a stereotypical gypsy, not how gypsies really dress up. I've known several in my life. They don't dress up like that. And they go in an envelope and open up the envelope and give you an answer before the question is give you an answer, and then they open up an envelope and it's the question and it's something ridiculous. And you could do that, but that's not really going to be successful. You're better off letting it go and making maybe quietly in the background saying, you know what, I could have done that for you. And, you didn't have to pay all that. You could have paid me that, So now, let's go over and we're going to take a break and we're going to go to the network news stories. Hold on right here.
In the professional safety community, communication and planning are just a few keys to your program's success. The question many practitioners have is, where do I start? Dr. Jay Allen, the creator of the Safety FM platform and host of the Rated R Safety Show, has built a global foundation to help you along the way. Go to safetyfm.com and listen to some of the industry's best and most involved professionals, including Blaine Hoffman with the Safety Pro, Sam Goodman with the Hop Nerd, Sheldon Primus with the Safety Consultant, Jim Poesl with Safety Wars, Emily Elrod with Unapologetically Bold, and many others. As individuals, we can do great things, but as a team, we become amazing. Dial into safetyfm.com today and surround yourself with a powerful force of knowledge and support.
OSHA recordables, catastrophic losses, environmental disasters. You want answers? So do I. This is Jim Poesl with Safety Wars.
That's my daddy.
Safety Wars is streaming now.
SafetyFM.com.
And we're back with the Tech Roundup. Sorry about that. I cut off a little earlier. We're still getting the hang of things here. This is the latest from Brian Shook. Now they tell us. We're going to try the tech roundup again, and now they tell us about 15 minutes per day, a couple of days before. For daylight savings time. Aye. So I thought this would be normal. I mean, this wouldn't happen, but this is from a report by John Renice. Right, and no more indoor security cams for Airbnb. Airbnb is banning the use of indoor security cameras at all of its global listings. The company said they wanted to simplify their policy on cameras, prioritize, quote, the privacy of our community, end quote. In a press release on the company website, they were right historically. The company has allowed indoor cameras as long as they were in common areas and the location was disclosed. Now, they will not be allowed inside the listing regardless of their location. I guess, hey, again, people go to Airbnbs for different reasons. There was one in Metro Philadelphia a couple of years ago that was, we'll just say, it was being used for, what's the word I'm looking for? It was being used for type of activities out there. So, but anyway, people do, again, incidental nudity, what have you, people, all types of things. They didn't want indoor cameras. So video doorbells and decibel meters are still allowed, but their locations must be disclosed. The changes taking place on April 30th to give hosts come into compliance. Now, when my parents were alive, still, we had indoor cameras on the inside of common areas for the purpose to keep an eye on things in case someone got hurt, something happened, what have you. We have everything on video. They're useful, but you could see where, and I made sure we kept that password secret and kept on changing it because you could see where someone could hack that camera and using default passwords, which people don't ever change their password, and now you have an issue. So I could see where this could be a problem. I mean, for years, it used to be okay to film people indoors without their knowledge, but they couldn't as long as they weren't recording audio. And there are, with a lot of stuff here, I'm sure that there are some legalities with, they call it wiretapping, but it's basically surveillance here. It's a form of wiretapping here. So I don't know. It's a good thing overall. But again, I mean, there's some real sick people out there. I mean, doing stuff here. Here we have Scott Peterson is getting a status hearing today. Scott Peterson is still trying to clear his name 20 years after being convicted of murdering his wife and unborn son. In a Tuesday hearing, the Los Angeles Innocence Project is hoping a judge will allow them to get additional evidence from the first trial that they said could clear his name. Peterson was convicted in 2004 and given the death penalty, but in 2020, California Supreme Court overturned the sentence, and a 51-year-old is now serving life without the possibility of parole. Lacey Peterson's body was found in San Francisco Bay in 2003, story by John McDade. So we'll see on that. I tell you, a new technology comes out, things of that nature. A lot of these cases are being revisited. I follow the Innocence Project on a lot of stuff out there. And, you know, I guess overall it's a good thing. Let's see if there's anything else here with this. The top intelligence officials are warning of the threats facing the U.S. coming from our southern border. During a hearing on Capitol Hill on Monday, FBI Director Christopher Wray said some smuggling networks have ISIS ties. He added, the FBI alone seized enough fentanyl in the last 2 years to kill 270 million people. The migrant crisis has become a hot topic during the presidential campaign. Okay, and we're going to take our second break here. Is your safety training old, stale, and hackneyed? Is your safety trainer still preaching a warped version of behavior-based safety? How about safety training that actually addresses your hazards in your workplaces and is not standardized baloney from 25 years ago? Contact the Safety Wars team at safetywars.com or call Jim Poesl at 845-269-5772. Remember, if you're receiving this message, you are the solution to unsafe workplaces. Okay, and
You are listening to Safety Wars. Tomorrow's Safety Today.
all right, some of the other things out here, and then we'll talk a little bit about some OSHA issues. Proliferating news sites spew AI-generated fake stories. Another program I listen to occasionally is brought this up many, many years ago, where news agencies are getting rid of, especially the smaller ones, are getting rid of their reporters. A lot of here, I'm not going to advertise for other people here, right? But have been moving towards AI for like 4 or 5 years already. And you can tell those stories because a lot of the times there's mistakes, things are taken out of context, things of that nature. So again, with some of the experience we've had recently with AI in the news where things were just reported badly. I mean, it was, So, for example, for one of the algorithms out there was reporting, they was like last month. No, show us a picture of George Washington. It was African-American George Washington, right? And things of that nature. And it looked ridiculous, and they had egg on their face. Now, one of the other ones I saw was a religious one of the 16th century reformer Martin Luther. And it was, well, show me a picture of Martin Luther. And on some of the Lutheran groups I belonged to, they were ripping the image apart because with the historical inaccuracy. It was a beautiful looking picture, just very, very inaccurate there. With the way that he was depicted and some of the other things. One of the things was he was in a professor's robe serving the Holy Eucharist or celebrating the Holy Eucharist. And, that would have never happened with that. Wrong robes here. Here we have several species of infesting lawns. Several species of invasive plants are infesting lawns across the U.S., but only start wreaking havoc on the local ecology after a long period of lying in wait. Many of these species are capable of staying dormant for decades after being introduced in a new environment. This, according to a new paper in Journal of Nature, Ecology, and Evolution. One of these invasive plants is the common lawnweed, Plantago incanaleata, however you pronounce it. also known as ribwort or buckhorn plantain, which has one of the longest periods of dormancy, up to 177 years. So again, invasive species, really a problem outcompetes regular species out there, the endemic ones. This one out of Atlanta. Young men, and this is from NBC News, young men say were drugged, kidnapped, and robbed of thousands at Atlanta bars. So 8 men say they were robbed after criminals gained access to their phones to transfer thousands of dollars out of their bank accounts, largely via mobile payments. Ways you can combat that, I guess, with security issues. And I know people, they don't have any of their bank accounts on their smartphone. They have like one bank account with a couple $100 in it. So this doesn't happen as easily. The men said they believe they were drugged or described feeling abnormally intoxicated shortly before their phones were used to transfer thousands, largely using mobile payment apps such as Venmo, Zelle, Apple Cash, PayPal, and Cash App. Their credit cards are used to make fraudulent purchases. This actually happened to me last week, where I had fraudulent charges all over the country, and thank God I had fraud alerts on there. Here we have U.S. spy agencies say country faces increasingly fragile world order. U.S. intelligence agencies said on Monday the county faces, this is from the Jerusalem Post, the country faces an increasingly fragile world order, strained by great power competition, transnational challenges, and regional conflicts. In a report prepared before agency leaders testified in the U.S. Senate. Okay, I think we got everything that I wanted to talk to outside this. Here we go. U.S. government, more AI news. This is from Time Magazine. Exclusive, U.S. must move decisively to avert extinction level threat from AI, Government Commission report says. The U.S. government must move decisively to avert an extinction level event to humanity from AI, says the Government Commission report. And, I can see that. Not only are they bleeping with our minds with AI and all this stuff, right? And there's other stuff going on with it. Many different threats with AI. Now, something else in the news. A couple of weeks ago, let me get the camera on here. Found this. Anyone know what that is? Yes, that is a Manhattan Project mission patch. A repro I picked up many, many years ago. Had to be 20 years ago here. Now, I thought it was a cool-looking patch. I was working in an area where they promoted a lot of nuclear stuff at a facility. I thought, hey, cool-looking patch. So what do you think was the big winner last night? Oppenheimer, right? Which was on Robert Oppenheimer and the early days of nuclear issues. And the thing is, still controversial decisions were made during to end World War II with Japan with that. Right, we're going to be catching up on some of these nuclear issues and prepping issues and a future program because right now there are people who are getting involved with the prepper movement, which let me put it to you this way. If you are a person that went out and buys an extra can of beans, you're a prepper by some definitions. So it involves you. Here we have, let's go to the OSHA News. Federal investigators cite a Butler County, Pennsylvania company for exposing workers to hazards after employee suffers fatal falls. Okay. What kind of company was this? The agency determined the employee was instructed to clean a chrome roller on a coder machine while in operation. The employee was pulled into the machine and suffered fatal injuries. They had 2 willful and 2 serious violations based in part on for failing to implement lockout-tagout procedures and not installing guarding. Now, I shared this story a couple of times already. Back in the day when I was working in the refining industry, we had an issue with workers, especially the younger ones, wasn't so much the older ones, that said, well, we don't have to follow any of this lockout tagout stuff, Jim, because nothing ever happens with lockout tagout. It's like, dude, you serious? Nothing ever happens. This is a waste of time. So what I ended up doing was, and no, they don't have it anymore. They don't. I haven't been on that. They may have them. I said, I tell you what, we're going to have some information on that later on. I told the people, and in the next safety meeting, what did I end up doing? I ended up showing videos of people being sucked into rollers and other equipment, mixing blades, off of this website. Horrific situations here. And then they say, well, I guess it could happen. And then we never had a problem with lockout tagout again. Again, OSHA doesn't encourage that. They actually eschew that type of training. But sometimes, you're in the field, you have to do stuff like that. But you got to better damn well make sure you give a warning on it. Right? Now, and I'm going to say this much. Some of these agencies, you kind of like wonder if they ever actually went out there and dealt with real people, or was it all on paper? Because I hear that all the time. I was in a training class. I said, yeah, I did that. That's horrible that you would do that. That's traumatic toward people. I said, you know what's traumatic is someone getting sucked into one of these things. Right? Number one. And number two, you warn them way up front. And number three, we're in the business of saving lives. We're in the business of people not getting hurt. If we had to shock them every once in a while, guess what? We're going to shock them. I shock people every day on this. They're like, what the hell are you saying, Jim? Right? On this show. And Jay Allen, by the way, same thing. I'm sure he gets the comments like, what the hell? That was offensive. Well, okay, it's offensive. Okay. We're in your face a little bit. So here we have citation number 1. Item 1, safety instructions signs are not used or need for general instructions and suggestions relative to safety. I haven't seen this one cited on this program. 1910-145C3, 16,131. This is 1910-147, lockout tagout. No inspection of energy control procedures, no auditing of it, 16,131. That's why if you have lockout tagout applies to you, then lockout tagout. If it applies to you, then you have to do an audit. Citation 2, item 1, procedures are not developed, documented, and utilized to control potentially hazardous energy. So not only were they not auditing it, they didn't even there was a problem with the program. And they give an extensive thing here, and it is called a willful serious, 161,323. Citation 2, item 2, willful serious. 1910-212A1, guarding issues, right? Missing guards, $152,100. No, I don't know what to tell you. Plus, they're on the severe violator program thing. Here we go. I want to cover these accidents here. Then we'll go back to the other OSHA news. Employer might have prevented fatal forklift accident at Logan International Airport by ensuring proper safeguards. We covered this back in August. And this is out of Braintree, Massachusetts. The August 29, 2023 fatal injury of a forklift operator at Boston's Logan International Airport may have been prevented if his employer, a Rochester, New York-based maintenance firm, had ensured proper safeguards for operating and maintaining forklifts. Let's view so 4 basic things. The forklifts and mats are not raised, only as far as necessary. So they're walking with them when they're way up in the air. All forklift operators are not properly trained and certified, and that has to include not only computer training, it could, which I don't recommend for this, but you have to have someone demonstrating that you know how to operate them and sign off on the training, which we do. 845-269-5772. A damaged forklift was not examined before being placed in service. Again, those inspection forms that everybody forgets to do. Gotta do them, guys. A damaged forklift was not taken out of service. The August 2023 fatal injury of a forklift operator. We read that already. So let's see the citations. here you go. Vehicle forks and a mast stuck in the overhang of the entrance, causing the forklift to tip over. The operator, who was not wearing a seatbelt, fell into the ground. I actually helped investigate one of these accidents at another facility here. Again, nobody wants to wear seatbelts on these things. I'll jump away from it. I'll jump out of it. That's going to be fine. I'll jump free of it. Jim, guess what? Never freaking happens, right? From side to front, maybe. Side to side, backwards, you're not going to. No, happens too quick. Ain't going to happen. The reason why I mentioned forward is that there are videos of people surviving that type of thing. So could it happen? Yeah, in theory, but not really. So here we have citation one. Item one was a general duty clause violation. So as a reminder, general duty clause is the employer failed to keep the workplace free of a hazard to which employees of that employer were exposed. The hazard was recognized. The hazard was causing or was likely to cause death or serious physical harm, and there was a feasible method to do this. Now, this is perfect because it's small, right? Usually when they get into these feasible and usable methods, those are normally cited in the paperwork here. So usually it's like 2 pages long. I'm not going to read 2 pages on this show, right? Unless it's really, interesting. So outside of Terminal C, Gate C26 at Logan International Airport, an employee was exposed to rollover and crushing hazards while operating a forklift without wearing a seatbelt. In accordance to the forklift's operator's manual, got to have that operator's manual, and you got to actually read it, folks. Seatbelts should always be worn to reduce the risk of injury. Among other feasible methods, create and apply a work rule that requires all employees to wear a seatbelt. That's $11,000. That's serious and change. Citation one, item two is another serious one. On all grades, load and loading gauge means are not tilted back if applicable. We're not raised only as necessary. So basically, with the forks and mass raised, right? The employee who's operating it with the forks and mass raised, where the employer did not ensure that the forks were only raised as far as necessary. So they had things up in the air. Danger of that is this. One, impalement hazards if you run into someone. Rest in peace, Freddie, who this happened to, a guy I worked with, my brother Wally and I worked with, got impaled by one of these freaking things, all right, by somebody else, number one. Number two was when you raise the forks, the center of gravity moves out of what is called the stability triangle to the back wheels and makes this thing less stable and more liable for tip over. The other thing in this case, based on the description we have, he had an overhead type of thing and flipped it. All right, proper training, 11,524. Again, all of this stuff we can help you out with. Citation 1A, item 4A, thing was not in a safe operating condition. 11,524. Citation 1, item 4B, industrial trucks were not inspected. They got them for $0. So the whole thing, $46,096. So let's see here. Now, people say, well, how much? They're going to, OSHA will get them. And I'm not criticizing OSHA, but no, because they have to work within the law. And generally speaking, because, not a lot of their stuff gets overturned. They do operate within the law, right? Probably better than most law enforcement agencies, by the way. So here we have the person was injured. Was the fatal injury here. Again, these things have real human costs, not following the rules. Here we have, I think we covered this one, we did last week. U.S. Labor Department cites Atlantic chemical manufacturer for endangering workers and proposes $289,000 in penalties for 67 violations. Sucks to be you guys. All right, but we had, we have them again. When you look at the chemicals and industrial hygiene, it's a ridiculous amount of people that are killed every year because of industrial hygiene issues. The problem is that it's not immediate. So it rarely ever makes it onto the OSHA 300 logs or workers' comp. You're talking years later. You have delayed reactions, like with asbestosis, 30, 40 years later. They're getting whacked. And it's like over 100,000 people. So that $5,000 person, give or take, thing that we always report on every year, it's actually could be, if you can prove causation, would likely be over 100,000 people a year dying because of workplace industrial hygiene issues, meaning chemical exposures, generally speaking, chemical and energy exposures, right? Radiation, form of energy. So, I mean, this is important. They got whacked 67 things, proposed penalty of $289,439. Again, and this stuff is normal stuff. Engineering controls, respiratory protection program, HAZCOM, lab, fume hood type things is what it looks like here. Changing rooms with contaminated clothing, quick drenching and flushing of the eyes and bodies. That's an ANSI standard that I believe is incorporated into the OSHA standard. With how far away your eye washes and showers are. All of this stuff. And again, that powered industrial truck stuff, not done. I don't know. Here you go. Okay. Here you go. Workers in the U.S. suffer more than 190,000 illnesses. I got the number wrong. Approximately 50,000 deaths annually related to chemical exposures. So basically what they're saying is that number that we have, 5,000, is off by 10,000, 10 times. It's off by an order of magnitude here. I don't know what to tell you. Laws have got to change. People have working on another situation you'll be hearing about in the near future, specifically on this stuff where we're going to be discussing this. So that's under wraps here. And yes, I can deliver. We're working on delivering stuff here. All right. And what else do we want to talk about here? All right, I think we covered this. Automakers are sharing consumers' driving behavior with insurance companies. Again, this this is from DNYUZ.com. This person says he's always been a careful driver. The owner of a software company. I'm not going to share this, so stop sharing. Right, and owner of a software company. Right, his insurance jumped by 21%. Quotes from other insurance companies are also high. How was that? How did that happen? LexisNexis, right, New York-based global data broker with a risk solutions division that caters the auto insurance industry, has traditionally kept tabs on car accidents and tickets. Upon the driver's request, LexisNexis sent him a 258-page consumer disclosure report, which he must provide to the Fair Credit Reporting Act. What it contained stunned him. More than 130 pages detailing each time he or his wife had driven their car, I'm not going to mention the name of it, over the previous 6 months. It included dates of 640 trips, their start and end times, and distance driven. We're going to do a separate one on this one. Distance driven and accounting of any speeding, hard braking, or sharp accelerations. The only thing it didn't have is where they had driven their car. So basically, there are a couple of companies. I just renewed my insurance for my personal vehicle, and they gave me the option to have an app track me. And there's another a company that's a requirement that you have to have this, and they track where you're driving and they do a risk assessment on that. With that, so insurance companies are getting this information, reviewing it, and again, it's unfortunate. Now, this is objective data, as objective as it's going to get. However, objective data does not mean that the data is in context. Here. Okay, you stopped short. Perhaps you dropped short to avoid getting into an accident. Yes, you sped up. Maybe you were speeding up to get away from that drunk driver 2 cars over. I have just installed a dashboard camera in my vehicle. Why? Because I'm driving in areas where we have stuff going on out there. So we're going to bookmark this and we're going to look a little bit more into this. I mean, it stinks here. So what we're going to do, we're at 56 minutes. We're going to go to our outro video and we're going to call it a night a couple minutes early here. So we will be back here later in the week. Probably not going to be tomorrow, but it will be later this week on with our next thing. I'm hoping to do some shorter videos as we had mentioned. And we're going to go from there. Okay. Here we go. And good night, everybody.
The views and opinions expressed on this podcast are those of the host and its guest and do not necessarily reflect the official policy or position of the company. Examples of analysis discussed within this podcast are only examples. They should not be utilized in the real world as the only solution available, as they are based only on very limited and dated open source information. Assumptions made within this analysis are not reflective of the position of the company. No part of this podcast may be reproduced, stored in a retrieval system, or transmitted in any form or by any means, mechanical, electronic, recording, or otherwise, without prior written permission of the creator of the podcast, Jay Allen.
Share this. So stop sharing.